The cry cut through the dawn silence like a blade. Chief Chayton stopped mid-step, his breath freezing in white clouds before his face. The snow stretched endlessly in every direction, unmarked except for his own tracks leading back to the village. He tilted his head, listening. Nothing but wind through the pines. Then he heard it again. Faint, desperate, unmistakably human. He ran. The bundle lay at the base of an ancient cottonwood tree, half buried in fresh snow. Chayton dropped to his knees and swept the powder away with bare hands already numb from cold. His heart hammered as he uncovered a small face, dark as midnight, lips turning blue. A baby girl, no more than days old. She wailed again, weaker this time, her tiny fist trembling against the cold that would kill her within minutes. Chayton tore open his buffalo hide coat and pulled her against his chest, wrapping them both in a warmth of fur and body heat. Her skin felt like ice. He stood and turned back toward the village, breaking into a run despite the deep snow. "Stay with me," he whispered. "Stay with me." The village stirred as he burst through the entrance. Women rushed from their lodges, eyes widening at the bundle in his arms. Elder Lakota emerged from the council lodge, his weathered face hardening as Chayton passed. "Bring her to my lodge," said Ayanna, the tribe's healer. Her voice carried the authority of 60 winners. Quickly. Inside the warmth of the lodge, Ayanna worked with practiced hands. She wrapped the infant in soft deerskin, warming her by the fire while Chayton stood watching, his jaw tight. "She will live," Ayanna said finally. "But Chayton, you know what this means." He did. The child was not Lakota. Her skin told a story of distant lands, of people his tribe had rarely encountered. Someone had left her to die in the snow, and now he had saved her. "The council will never accept this," Ayanna continued, her voice low. "They will say she brings bad spirits. They will demand you leave her at the mission fort." Chayton knelt beside the sleeping infant. Her breathing had steadied, her small chest rising and falling with life he had given back to her. She was alone in this world, abandoned like a broken thing. He understood that darkness. He had felt it himself after losing his wife 3 winters ago. "Her name is Kwame," he said quietly. "It means morning star in a language I once heard from a traveling merchant. She came to me at dawn." Ayanna's expression softened, then hardened again. "They will test you for this choice, Chayton. Mark my words." Outside, the wind picked up, howling across the plains like a warning. Chayton didn't look away from the child. Let them come. 17 winters had passed since that frozen dawn. Kwame moved through the village with the confidence of someone who had earned her place through sweat and blood. Her bow hung across her back, 3 rabbits tied to her belt. The morning hunt had been good. She nodded to the women tanning hides outside their lodges, received respectful nods in return from most, cold stares from others, some wounds never fully healed. Kwame. Her sister Amara ran toward her, braids flying. At 14, Amara had their father's sharp eyes and quick smile. "Father wants you at the council lodge." Kwame's stomach tightened. Council meetings rarely meant good news. "Did he say why?" Amara shook her head, but her smile had vanished. "There are riders. Many riders. They arrived an hour ago." Kwame handed her the rabbits and moved quickly through the village. She had learned to read the air here, the subtle shifts that meant danger. Today, that air felt heavy. The council lodge stood at the village center, smoke rising from the opening at its peak. Kwame pushed aside the entrance flap and stepped inside. Chayton sat across from a man she had never seen before. He was massive, his shoulders broad as a buffalo, his face marked with the scars of countless battles. His eyes found her immediately, and something dark flickered in their depths. "Kwame," Chayton said, his voice carefully neutral. "This is Chief Tatanka. He leads a confederation of tribes from the northern territories." Tatanka did not stand, did not offer greeting. He simply stared at her, as though examining a strange artifact. "So this is the child from the snow," Tatanka said finally. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "The one who made you weak." Kwame felt heat rise in her chest, but Chayton raised her hand slightly, a warning. She remained silent. "I am not weak," Chayton replied evenly. "My choice to raise Kwame has not diminished my leadership or my tribe's strength. That remains to be seen." Tatanka stood, and the lodge seemed to shrink around his presence. "I have brought 50 warriors with me, Chayton. We have traveled many days to reach your village. Do you know why? Chayton's jaw tightened. Tell me. Because word has spread across the territories. The great Chief Chayton, warrior of warriors, has adopted an outsider. He raises her as Lakota when her blood speaks of different ancestors. Some say this shows compassion. Others say it shows he has forgotten who he is. Kwame clenched her fist. She wanted to speak, to defend her father, but his eyes held her in place. I came to see the truth for myself, Tatanka continued, and to test whether you are still worthy of the name you carry. The words hung in the air like poison. Elder Lakota stepped forward from the shadows. The old man had opposed Kwame's adoption from the beginning, though he had never acted against Chayton directly. Chief Tatanka speaks with authority. If he wishes to test our chief, tradition allows it. Chayton stood slowly, meeting Tatanka eye to eye. What test do you propose? Tatanka smiled, but there was no warmth in it. 3 tests. First, you will face my strongest warrior in combat. Second, you will prove your wisdom before the gathered council. Third, his eyes slid to Kwame again. The girl herself must prove she deserves the place you have given her. Kwame's blood turned cold. She is not part of this, Chayton said, his voice dropping dangerously low. She is the heart of it, Tatanka countered. If you truly believe she belongs among the Lakota, then she must prove it, not through your protection, but through her own strength. Outside, Kwame could hear voices. The 50 warriors had gathered in the village center, their presence already shifting the balance of power. This was not a friendly visit. This was a challenge that could destroy everything Chayton had built. When did these tests begin? Tatanka's smile widened. Tonight, at sunset. The first test will show us if the great Chayton still has the strength to lead, or if love has made him soft. He moved past Kwame toward the entrance, pausing beside her. Your father saved your life in the snow, girl, but some debts can never be repaid. Some places can never truly be home. Then he was gone, leaving only the echo of his words and the certainty that everything was about to change. Kwame looked at her father. Chayton's face was carved from stone, but she saw the fear beneath. Not for himself, for her. I can do this, she said quietly. Whatever test he demands, I can pass it. Chayton pulled her into a fierce embrace. I know you can. But Kwame, you must understand, Tatanka did not come here to test us. He came here to break us. Through the lodge walls, the sound of 50 warriors preparing for battle filled the air. The sun began its descent toward the horizon. The entire village had gathered in a circle as the sun touched the western hills. Kwame stood with Amara at the edge, her heart pounding against her ribs. In the center, Chayton faced a warrior nearly as large as Tatanka himself. The man's name was Kohana, and his reputation as a fighter had traveled across 3 territories. First blood, Tatanka announced from his position of honor. Those are the only ways this ends. Kwame had watched her father train countless warriors. She had seen him move with the grace of a hunting cat, strike with the power of a grizzly. But that was before. Chayton had seen 42 winners now. Kohana lived barely past 25. The fight began without ceremony. Kohana struck first, a sweeping blow that would have shattered ribs. Chayton slipped aside, countering with a strike to Kohana's kidney. The younger warrior grunted but didn't slow. He spun, his fist catching Chayton across the jaw. Blood sprayed onto the snow. Amara grabbed Kwame's hand, squeezing hard. Around them, the villagers watched in terrible silence while Tatanka's warriors cheered. Chayton wiped his mouth and smiled. It was the smile Kwame had seen before he faced down a wounded elk, before he rode into storms that other men fled. It was the smile of a man who refused to break. For 20 minutes they fought. Kohana was younger, faster, his strikes carrying the confidence of someone who had never truly been tested. But Chayton was smarter. He read the patterns, found the openings, turned Kohana's strength against him. When Chayton finally swept Kohana's legs and drove him face first into the frozen ground, the silence was absolute. Chayton pressed his knee into Kohana's spine, his hand wrapped in the warrior's hair. Submit. Kohana's fist pounded the earth once. Twice. Submission. Chayton stood, breathing hard, blood dripping from a cut above his eye. He turned to Tatanka. Your first test is complete. Tatanka's expression revealed nothing. He simply nodded. But Kwame saw the muscle twitch in his jaw. The great chief had expected Chayton to fail. The second test will take place tomorrow, Tatanka announced. Chief Chayton will face the council of elders from all our tribes. They will question his wisdom, his judgment, his right to lead people who follow tradition while he spits on it. Elder Lakota stepped forward then, his ancient eyes gleaming. I will be among those who question him. Of course he would. Lakota had waited 17 years for this moment. That night, Kwame couldn't sleep. She left her lodge and found her father sitting alone by the central fire, staring into flames that painted his face in shifting shadows. You don't have to do this, she said, sitting beside him. We could leave, find another tribe, another territory. Run. Chayton's voice was soft, but edge was still. Is that what I taught you? You taught me to survive. I taught you to stand. He turned to face her, and in the firelight she saw the years etched into his features, the weight of every choice, every sacrifice. Kwame, do you know why I really kept you that morning in the snow? She had heard the story 1,000 times, but something in his voice told her this would be different. She died bringing our son into the world. He lived for 6 days. I buried them both on the hill overlooking the river. His voice cracked just slightly. When I heard you crying in that snow, I heard him. I heard the child I couldn't save. And I swore to the spirits that if they gave me one more chance, I would not fail. Kwame felt tears burning her eyes. You saved me, Kwame, not the other way around. You gave me purpose when I had none. You gave me reason to keep leading when I wanted to follow my family into the next world. He gripped her shoulder. So no, I would not run. I would not let them take you from me. Not Tatanka. Not his 50 warriors. Not the spirits themselves. Before Kwame could respond, a sound cut through the night, shouting, movement near the horse enclosure. They ran. 3 of Tatanka's warriors stood near the enclosure, torches in hand. The horses screamed and kicked, eyes rolling white with terror. Someone had tried to set the fence ablaze. Chayton's warriors arrived moments later, weapons drawn. The tension crackled like lightning about to strike. Tatanka emerged from the darkness, his face thunderous. What is the meaning of this? One of his warriors, a lean man with a scar bisecting his face, stepped forward. We found this near the fence, Chief. He held up a piece of cloth. Lakota colors. Someone from this village tried to blame us. Lies, spat Makia, one of Chayton's most trusted warriors. We saw your men with torches. To investigate the fire we saw starting, the scarred warrior shot back. Weapons rose on both sides, 50 warriors against 30. The mathematics of massacre. Enough. Chayton's voice cut through the chaos. Lower your weapons. All of you. Why should we? The scarred warriors stepped closer. Phew. You brought us here under the guise of tradition, but your people try to sabotage us, to make us look like the aggressors. Or perhaps, Kwame heard herself say, someone wants us to destroy each other before the tests are complete. Every eye turned to her. Think about it, she continued, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Who benefits if Chayton's warriors and Tatanka's warriors kill each other tonight? Not my father, not Chief Tatanka, but someone who wants this test to end before truth can be revealed. Tatanka studied her with those dark, unreadable eyes. The girl speaks with wisdom beyond her years. He turned to his warriors. Lower your weapons. We will investigate this properly in the morning. If treachery exists, we will find it. The tension held for another heartbeat, then slowly dissolved. Warriors separated, returning to their camps, but hands stayed close to weapons. Chaytana approached Tatanka. This wasn't an accident. No, Tatanka agreed. It wasn't. The question is whether it was your doing or someone else's. You know it wasn't mine. Do I? Tatanka's expression hardened. Tomorrow, the council will question you. They will ask why the spirits would allow such chaos around a chief who claims to lead with wisdom. They will ask if keeping the girl has brought nothing but discord. He walked away, leaving Chayton standing in the darkness. Kwame moved to her father's side. Someone is trying to sabotage you. We need to find out who. I know. Chayton's voice was grim. And I suspect I know why. This isn't just about testing my leadership anymore, Kwame. Tatanka came here with a purpose darker than tradition. What purpose? Her father looked toward the northern hills, where Tatanka's camp glowed with dozens of fires. Revenge. The council convened at dawn in the largest lodge, expanded to hold representatives from 5 tribes. Elder Lakota sat at the center, flanked by chiefs and spiritual leaders whose combined authority could destroy Chayton with a single word. Kwame watched from outside through a gap in the hide wall, forbidden from entering but unable to stay away. Chief Chayton began, an elder from the northern tribes, his voice reedy with age. You have led your people for 20 winters. In that time you have won battles, secured hunting grounds, and maintained peace. Yet you have also broken our most sacred tradition by raising a child of different blood as your own. Explain this choice. Chayton stood before them, his bearing proud despite the bruises from yesterday's fight. I found an infant dying in the snow. I chose life over death. I chose compassion over fear. That is the wisdom I offer. Compassion? Elder Lakota's voice dripped contempt. Or pride? You placed your own feelings above the good of the tribe. You brought an outsider into our midst, and now chaos follows. Last night proved that. Last night proved that someone fears the truth, Chayton countered. Tatanka spoke from his position along the wall. The truth is that your decision has divided your own people. Half accept the girl, half do not. A chief who brings division brings weakness. The questioning continued for hours. They attacked every decision Chayton had made regarding Kwame. Why train her as a warrior when women rarely took up weapons? Why give her full status in the tribe? Why not send her to the mission fort where her own people might claim her? Through it all, Chayton answered with calm authority. But Kwame could see the toll each question took, each challenge to his judgment. Finally, Elder Lakota stood. I have heard enough. Chief Chayton has proven himself wise in many things, but foolish in this one matter. I propose that the girl be sent away and Chayton stripped of. No. Tatanka's voice cut through the lodge like a blade. That is not my judgment. Lakota turned, surprise flickering across his ancient face. But Chief Tatanka, surely you agree that what I agree is that words alone prove nothing. Tatanka stood, his massive frame dominating the space. Chief Chayton claims the girl belongs among the Lakota. Very well. Let her prove it. Kwame's blood ran cold. Tatanka continued. The third test will be hers. She will go alone into the wilderness during the next 3 days while the winter storm approaches. She will survive without help, without her father's protection, using only the skills he claims to have taught her. If she returns alive, she proves her place. If she fails, he didn't need to finish. The storm will kill her, Chayton said flatly. This is not a test. This is murder. This is tradition, Tatanka replied. Young warriors undergo similar trials to prove themselves worthy. Or does your compassion extend only to protecting her from the very challenges that make us strong? Chayton's hands clenched into fists. She is not on trial here. I am. Then you have already lost. Tatanka's eyes glittered. Because a true chief puts his people above all else, even above his own children. If you refuse to let her face this test, you prove that your judgment is compromised by love. If you allow it, you prove you believe in her. The trap was perfect. Kwame pushed through the entrance before anyone could stop her. I accept. Kwame, no. Chayton started. I accept the test, she repeated louder. She faced Tatanka directly. You want to know if I belong here? I'll prove it. 3 days in the wilderness during the storm. Alone. I'll return. And when I do, this question will be settled forever. Tatanka smiled, but it never reached his eyes. Brave words. We shall see if you can back them up. The council agreed. The test would begin at sunset. Chayton caught Kwame's arm as she left the lodge. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. She met his eyes. You fought for me my entire life. Now it's my turn to fight for us. That afternoon, Kwame gathered her supplies under Ayana's watchful eye. The old healer worked in silence, packing dried meat, a fire starter, a knife. The storm will be brutal, Ayana said finally. Worse than any we've seen this winter. You will need shelter by the first night or you will freeze. I know. And you cannot trust that your supplies will be enough. Ayana's gaze sharpened. Someone sabotaged the horses last night. What makes you think they won't sabotage you? Kwame stopped packing. You think someone will try to make me fail? I think Tatanka did not travel this far simply to test your father's leadership. Ayanna lowered her voice. I have been listening, asking questions. 20 years ago, Tatanka had a younger brother, a warrior named Matto. He was killed by settlers near the border territories. What does that have to do with me? Everything. Ayanna gripped her wrist. Matto was killed while scouting near a trading post. The settlers claimed he attacked them. Tatanka never believed it. He blamed the outsiders, swore revenge against anyone who brought them into our lands. And now you are here, an outsider raised as one of us. Understanding crashed over Kwame like ice water. He wants me dead. I cannot prove it. But yes, I believe that is why he came. And I believe he has someone in this village helping him. Someone who shares his hatred. Ooh. If I knew, they would already be cast out. Ayanna released her wrist. Be careful, Kwame. Trust no one out there. And if you find evidence of sabotage, bring it back. It may be the only thing that saves both you and your father. As sunset approached, the entire village gathered. Dark clouds massed on the horizon, heavy with the promise of snow. The wind already bit with winter's teeth. Tatanka stood before Kwame, his scarred lieutenant beside him. You will head north, into the hills. You may take only what you carry now. You may accept no help from anyone. In 3 days, you will return to this spot. Do you understand? I understand. Then go. Prove you are worthy of the name Chayton gave you. Kwame looked at her father one last time. His face was stone, but his eyes betrayed everything. Fear, pride, love that could break mountains. She turned north and walked into the gathering dark. Behind her, she heard Tatanka's voice, barely a whisper carried on the wind. She won't survive the first night, and the scarred warrior beside him replied, I'll make certain of it. Kwame kept walking, her heart pounding, her mind racing. She was being hunted. The test was rigged from the start. But she was her father's daughter, and she would not die easily. The storm hit on the second night. Kwame had found shelter in a small cave halfway up the northern ridge. Just as her father had taught her, she built a fire at the entrance, small enough to avoid smoke inhalation, but large enough to keep the cold at bay. Her supplies were carefully rationed. She had followed every lesson, every technique Chayton had drilled into her since childhood, but someone had been following her. She noticed the tracks on the first day. Boot prints too large to be hers, spaced too far apart to be an animal. Someone watching, waiting. Then her water skin had been slashed while she gathered wood. Her fire starter had disappeared from her pack, though she'd sworn she secured it. Small acts of sabotage designed to kill her slowly, to make it look like she failed on her own. Now huddled in the cave, as wind screamed outside and snow fell in blinding sheets, Kwame heard something that made her blood freeze. Footsteps, approaching through the storm. She drew her knife, pressing herself against the cave wall beside the entrance. The fire cast dancing shadows that would hide her if she stayed still. A figure appeared in the opening, the scarred warrior from Tatanka's group. He carried a spear, and his face twisted with purpose. Come out, girl, he called over the wind. Make this easy. Kwame stayed silent, barely breathing. I know you're in there. Your fire gives you away. He stepped closer. Tatanka wants this to look natural, a tragic accident, the outsider girl who couldn't survive. But I don't care about appearances. I just want you dead. He lunged forward. Kwame moved. She kicked the fire toward him, embers exploding across the cave floor. The warrior stumbled back, and she was on him, her knife aimed at his throat. But he was stronger, more experienced. He caught her wrist, twisted, sent her sprawling. Her knife clattered away into the darkness. You should have died in that snow 17 years ago, he snarled, raising his spear. Your kind killed Tatanka's brother, killed my family, and Chayton spits on their memory by raising you as one of us. Wait. Kwame scrambled backward. What do you mean, my kind? I was an infant. I killed no one. Your blood did. He advanced. The sellers who murdered Mato were led by a buffalo soldier, a black man who betrayed his own people to serve the whites. Tatanka swore that day that no outsider would ever be welcome among us again. And then your father found you and made a mockery of that oath. Understanding crashed through her. So Tatanka came here for revenge. Not to test my father's leadership. The test is real enough. But yes, he wants Chayton destroyed, wants you dead. Wants everyone to see what happens when we forget who we are. The warrior's grip tightened on his spear. Now enough talking. He thrust forward. Kwame rolled, the spear point gouging stone where her head had been. She grabbed a burning branch from the scattered fire and swung it like a weapon. The warrior blocked it, but the burning end caught his arm. He howled and stumbled back. She ran, into the storm, into the blinding snow. With no shelter and no supplies, behind her she heard the warrior's roar of fury. For hours she ran through the darkness, the cold biting through her clothes. Her lungs burning, she couldn't go back to the village. Not yet. Not without proof of what had happened. As dawn broke gray and terrible over the frozen landscape, Kwame found herself at the edge of a frozen river. Her strength was nearly gone. The cold had worked its way deep into her bones. Then she saw it. A campfire, barely visible through the trees on the far bank. She crossed the ice carefully, each step a prayer that it would hold. On the other side, she found Tatanka's camp. Most of his warriors had returned to the village, but 3 remained, including Tatanka himself. She crept closer, hiding behind snow-covered brush. The storm should have finished her by now, one warrior was saying. Even if Nako didn't kill her, the cold will. Are you certain Nako can be trusted? Another asked. Tatanka's voice was ice. Nako lost his wife and children to the settlers. He hates the outsiders as much as I do. He won't fail. And if Chayton discovers the truth, he won't. When the girl's body is found, it will look like she simply couldn't survive. Chayton will be broken. His tribe will turn against him for pushing his adopted daughter into a test she couldn't pass. He'll be forced to step down. Tatanka paused. And once he's no longer chief, I'll make certain he knows the real reason I came. I'll make certain he suffers for the insult he gave my brother's memory. Kwame's hands shook, but not from cold, from rage. She had to get back, had to warn her father, had to expose this conspiracy before. A hand clamped over her mouth. She struggled, but the grip was iron. She was dragged backward into the trees, away from the camp. Terror flooded through her. Nako had found her again. But the voice that whispered in her ear wasn't Nako's. Stop fighting. It's me. She froze. That voice. She knew that voice. The hand released her, and she spun to find Elder Lakota standing there, wrapped in furs, his ancient eyes sharp as flint. You, she breathed. You followed me? I've been following Tatanka's men since they arrived. Takota's expression was grim. I opposed your adoption, girl. I made no secret of that. But I am not a murderer, and I will not stand by while guests in our village plot assassination. You have to help me get back. My father needs to know. Your father already knows. Takota interrupted. I sent word through my granddaughter last night. But knowing and proving are different things. We need evidence. Or Tatanka will simply deny everything and claim you're lying to save yourself. I heard him. Just now. He admitted everything. Your word against his. Takota shook his head. Unless, he reached into his furs and pulled out a small bundle. Inside was a torn piece of cloth, stained with blood. I found this near where the horses were nearly burned. And I found this. He produced a second item. A medallion carved with symbols Kwame didn't recognize. This belonged to Tatanka's brother, Mato, Takota explained. Tatanka wears it always, or did until he dropped it during the sabotage attempt. He's been searching for it ever since. Hope fled in Kwame's chest. This proves he was involved. It proves someone from his group was there, but combined with what you heard, Takota's weathered face shows something that might have been respect. Combined with your testimony, it might be enough. Why are you helping me? Kwame asked. You hate that my father took me in. I disagree with his choice, Takota corrected. But I respect his right to make it, and I will not allow outsiders to destroy our tribe through treachery. His eyes hardened. Even if that outsider is another chief, even if I once called him friend, a sound cut through the storm. Voices, warriors, searching. They know you're close, Takota said. We need to move. Now. Together they ran through the snow, the old man moving with surprising speed. Behind them, the shouts grew closer. They were being hunted, but now, at least, they had a chance. They reached the village as the third-day sun climbed toward noon. Kwame was half frozen, barely able to walk, but Dakota kept her moving. Behind him, Nako and 2 other warriors closed in, visible now across the white expanse. The entire village had gathered in a central clearing. Chayton stood surrounded by his warriors, facing Tatanka and his remaining fighters. The tension was explosive. "The time has passed," Tatanka was saying. "The girl has failed to return. The test is complete. Now Chayton must. I'm here." Kwame's voice cut through the cold air. Every head turned. She stumbled into the clearing, Dakota supporting her, the evidence clutched in her frozen hands. Chayton started toward her, but Tatanka's warriors blocked his path. "She returns," Tatanka said smoothly. "But, too late. The 3 days have passed. She has failed. The sun has not yet reached its peak." Elder Dakota's voice rang with authority. "The 3rd day is not over. She returns within the time allotted." Tatanka's jaw tightened. Even so, she clearly had help. The test required her to survive alone. "I survived alone," Kwame said, her voice gaining strength. "But I didn't face the wilderness alone. I faced murder." Silence crashed over the gathering. "Lies," Tatanka said. "The girl invents stories to cover her weakness. Then explain this." Kwame held up the medallion. "Your brother's medallion found at the site where someone tried to burn our horses. Explain why your warrior Nako tracked me into the wilderness to kill me. Explain why I heard you admit that you came here not to test my father, but to destroy him." Tatanka's face went pale, then flushed with rage. "You have no proof. The ramblings of a desperate girl mean nothing." "I was there," Dakota said. "I heard it too. And I have the evidence to support her claims." "You?" Tatanka's voice dripped venom. "You opposed this girl from the beginning. Why would you defend her now?" "Because I am loyal to truth over pride," Dakota replied. "Because tradition means nothing if built on lies and murder." Nako burst into the clearing then, breathing hard, spear in hand. He saw Kwame and his face twisted with fury. "She should be dead." The admission hung in the air like smoke. Tatanka closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, something had shifted. The careful politician was gone. Only rage remained. "Yes," he said quietly. "I wanted her dead. I wanted Chayton broken. Because 17 years ago, he chose an outsider over the memory of my brother, over the oath we all swore after Maddo's murder." "Meto was killed by settlers," Chayton said. "Not by a child. Not by Kwame. She carries their blood," Tatanka roared. "The same blood as the buffalo soldier who led the attack. The same people who have taken our lands, killed our families, destroyed everything we hold sacred. And you raised her as one of us. You made a mockery of every warrior who died fighting them. She is innocent of those crimes," Chayton said. "No one is innocent." Tatanka's hand moved to his weapon. "Blood answers for blood. That is our way. Then let my blood answer." Kwame stepped forward, her voice clear. "You want revenge for your brother? Take it from me, not from my father, not from this village. Challenge me, and let this end." "Kwame, no," Chayton began. "She has no right to challenge me," Tatanka spat. "She is not Lakota. Then I'll tell you what I am." Kwame's voice rang across the clearing. "Ayana, you knew my mother. Tell them." The old healer stepped forward, her face etched with sorrow. "I kept this secret for 17 years, honoring the dying woman's wish, but secrets kept too long become poison." She looked at Tatanka. "Your sister, Liwanu, did not die of fever as you were told. She died giving birth to a child. This child." The world seemed to stop. Tatanka stared at her, comprehension slowly dawning. "No, Liwanu had no child. She was unmarried. She loved a buffalo soldier she met at the trading post," Ayana continued. "A good man who wanted to marry her, to leave the army and live among us. But when your brother was killed and you swore revenge against all outsiders, she knew you would never accept him, never accept their child." "You're lying," Tatanka whispered. When the baby was born and she saw the child's skin, she knew you would kill them both in your grief and rage. So she begged me to take the baby away, to leave her somewhere she might be found by others, who believed she had died childless. Ayana's voice broke. I left the baby at the cottonwood tree, praying someone would find her before the cold took her. And someone did. Chayton's face showed his shock. He had never known. My sister's child? Tatanka's voice was hollow. All this time? Your niece, Ayana confirmed. Lakota blood runs in her veins as surely as any other heritage. She is your family, Tatanka. And you tried to murder her for the crime of existing. Tatanka stood frozen, his world crumbling. Around him, his warriors backed away, horror and shame on their faces. I didn't know, he whispered. I didn't. You didn't ask, Chayton said. You assumed. You hated. And you tried to destroy an innocent girl because of it. Tatanka sank to his knees in the snow. The great chief, broken by truth. What happens now? One of Tatanka's warriors asked quietly. Kwame walked forward until she stood before her uncle. Now you choose. You can continue to hate me for what I represent, or you can see me for who I am, your sister's daughter, my father's child, a warrior who has proven herself worthy. Tatanka looked up at her, tears streaming down his weathered face. Liwanu always said I let rage consume wisdom. I didn't believe her. His voice cracked. I'm sorry for everything. Sorry doesn't erase what you did, Kwame said, but it's a start. She extended her hand. For a long moment, Tatanka stared at it. Then slowly, he took it and let her pull him to his feet. I will carry this shame for the rest of my days, he said, but I will also carry the truth. You are Lakota. You belong here, and anyone who says otherwise will answer to me. The tension broke like a dam. Warriors lowered their weapons. The 50 who came to test became witnesses to something greater than tradition. That night, the tribes gathered for a feast. Tatanka's warriors would leave at dawn, but tonight they celebrated peace instead of division. Kwame sat beside her father as snow fell gently outside. Did you know? She asked. About my mother? No, Chayton said, but it changes nothing. You were mine the moment I pulled you from that snow. Blood doesn't make family. Love does. Choice does. I know. She leaned against his shoulder. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for choosing us. Across the fire, Tatanka watched him, grief and acceptance worn in his eyes. He had come seeking revenge and found family instead. The cost had been high, but the truth had set them all free. Kwame closed her eyes, finally warm, finally safe, finally home. Not because of the blood in her veins, but because of the hearts that claimed her. And that was enough. Asku, the end.